Hey, I'm Captain V. Have I ever told you about the time I drowned? No? Watch on. All right, this story begins in Indonesia. Um, yeah, out in Asia, my wife and I were traveling for about 6 months after I got out of the army. So this was about, what, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, something like that. And we made our way down to Indonesia. There were lots of things we wanted to do, some diving, some like arts and some surfing and things like that. We're having a really good time on the island of Bali. And we eventually worked our way up to a little village called Tulamben. And it's on the north coast of the island. And there I had learned that you could take a free diving course. Now, growing up on the west coast of Vancouver Island in Canada, I had was very interested in the ocean, and I had already been doing some spearfishing and things like that. And a friend of mine had been raving about some courses he had taken in order to get better at free diving. So in order to take a single breath and then dive down as deep as you could or stay down as long as you could. And this course in Tulamben claimed that anyone could take the course, and after only 2 days of training, you could dive down to 50 feet. I know, right? I was pretty excited. I thought, hey, I'm in good shape. I think I have a pretty good shot at it. I've already been doing some diving, and I would love to be able to dive down to 50 feet on one breath and come back up. So we're very, very fortunate. My wife and I had been doing some snorkeling and some free diving already, like this in Indonesia. And we were very fortunate to have found a lot of manta rays like this one, all over the place, trains of manta rays, like whole groups of them. This is me here diving down to just kind of glide with it and just kind of shadow it like that. And just an amazing underwater world in Indonesia, just a whole rainbow of colors, gorgeous ribbons and ribbons of fish and big fish and small fish and sharks and all these other things. Stay tuned for some other stories. Amazing things. We found an octopus, another octopus, just really, really cool creatures. And so I took the course, and in it was just myself and two other guys, and then the instructor. She was Spanish, living there, and yeah, we all learned in the course different breathing techniques. We learned it was almost all breathing techniques, and then a little bit of diving at the end of each day. So it was really kind of mastering both your body and your mind in order to allow yourself to go deeper, fighting both your body's impulses and developing your full range of breath so that you could get the most out of one breath, as well as conquering your mind's impulses in order to bring it back up to the surface. So on the first day, everything went well. We all got down to about 30 feet deep, and things were going really well. Other than that, I had because we hadn't gone scuba diving yet, my big ears here hadn't equalized their pressure, and therefore they were pretty painful. So every time I went down on a dive, I wasn't able to go head first, which is the easiest way to free dive, is to go kind of like a snorkel-like position and then tip your body over and then allow yourself to kind of just fall with those little kicks. And then upside down, you're equalizing as you go. So one technique that I do is plug the nose, blow against it, and then it kind of counters the pressure in order to eventually, hopefully, kind of like pop your ears a bit and make it less painful. The other two guys had no troubles doing this, but I've always had some troubles equalizing, and it usually takes me like a scuba dive or so, like a extended period of time underwater, in order to fully kind of pop them like that for a few days. And in hindsight, I probably should have done that. That would have made the course a lot easier. I should have gone diving first, and then I would have made the course a lot easier. But instead, what I had to do is keep myself upright, and then I would go down the dive line. So it's basically just like a tennis ball on the end of a weighted tennis ball on the end of a um, rope going straight down in just deep blue. Yeah, we were in the ocean. It wasn't a pool or anything. It was off in this little bay. And so we were in the ocean there. It's just us. And you kind of float around at the top and near this buoy. And then when it's your turn to go down, you dive down the line. And you just kind of like follow the line through with your, you don't hold on to the line, but just kind of follow the line down like that as you go. But I couldn't dive down like that because of my ears. So what I had to do was go down upright, and that would help a little bit. And then I would kind of have to pull myself down like this, pull myself down the line. Now these movements, as well as not being able to just glide down, all increased the amount of time that I was going to be down there. So I was having to hold my breath for about 2 minutes, which is a long time, right? It was a long time. And all those movements meant all that much more of that one breath getting used up on that physical activity. So it wasn't the greatest situation, but I was making it work. Now, day 2 came around and we continued breathing exercises. Things were going fine. I was actually, not that it was a competition, but I was able to hold my breath longer on land and in the water than either of the other 2 guys. And so I was showing a lot of promise. I was pretty optimistic about being able to make it to 50 feet that day. 30 feet seemed to be good to go. I was pretty comfortable with that. So I was really excited about making it to the 50 feet like advertised. So out we went. And as we got going, the other guys were doing really well. And one of them hit it first, like, I forget, it took him 3 or 4 tries or so. And on that, he made it all the way down to the 50 feet. He was ecstatic, and we all congratulated him. Things were going great. And what would happen is that the instructor would dive down with one of us at a time, and she would just shadow you. And if anything was wrong, then she'd be there to help. And she was amazing. So if there was anything like that, she had no trouble kind of like being there for your help. And she could stay down forever. She seemed like a dolphin. Like she could just be down forever. She could go super deep, no troubles, made it look effortless. It was amazing. So it was very confidence inspiring. So down we went, and I was getting on in the day, and I was getting more like I'm getting closer, but I couldn't quite get there. And it's a tricky thing because you don't see how close you get to it. Because that's part of the point, is that when free diving, and especially when pushing your limits with free diving, you don't want your body to overtake, or your mind to overtake your body's capabilities. So we would not be, as we're going down the rope, going down the line, we wouldn't be looking down towards the bottom, towards that tennis ball 50 feet. Because then you constantly are seeing how far away your objective is, and your body will pull you back before you ever get close to it. Instead, we were taught to look just straight forward at the rope and just keep doing the motions and stay calm. And then you'd just be surprised when you hit the bottom, and you'd be like pleasantly surprised, like, woohoo, now I get to go up. And that totally worked the first day. On the second day, since it was that much further, I was, having to take really big breaths, right? And hold it for a long time and use a lot of effort, both equalizing continually and pulling myself down the rope in order to get deeper and deeper and deeper. And so after I was starting to be down for, a minute and a half, I was hitting like it's a long time, and I was running out of air. And I did what I was taught not to do, which was I looked down. Instead of looking just straight at the rope, I started to feel myself getting anxious, and I looked down to see if I was, almost there. And I wasn't, it was still deeper. And that, at that instant, my mind took over from my body. And my mind said, "You're not going to make it." And as a result, it did, it took control, and it told my body to do what typically makes sense. It said, "You're out of air. You're not going to make it. You need air." So what do you think it told my body to do? Take a breath. Yeah. So I had no control of it. I just all of a sudden opened up my mouth to take a breath. And since my body was in this kind of like danger mode, and I took a breath, but there was no air, right? I was about 40 feet deep, and in rushed water. I just took a lung full of water in. It just went in, and I swallowed and gulped it, and I felt that feeling of drowning, the feeling of water filling your lungs instead of air. And I remember my just becoming super alert of that. My eyes just went completely wide like this. And the instructor told me afterwards that she saw my eyes just go as my body realized what had happened. And you can imagine that I started to panic. But if you panic in a situation like this, often you can get yourself into more trouble than you already are in. So my body was in panic and I was drowning. And I had never drowned before, but I was not excited about it. So I start to go up. And to my amazement, the instructor stopped me from going up. She stopped me, put her arm out on me, and with some hand gestures, she went, as in, "Stop, stay here." And I was like, and I pointed like, as in like, and I was starting to heave. I was starting to convulse because my body was trying to throw up water to get air, which only made it worse. So I was in the process of drowning as I was continually throwing up water. And then, therefore, as soon as you throw up, your body takes a breath. So, and that's why scuba divers are trained if they throw up to leave their mouthpiece in, because you know that you're going to take a breath in afterwards. So you do that. So I had no mouthpiece. I was throwing up this water to try to get out of my lungs and immediately sucking it back in with another impulsive breath. So I was basically kind of like re-drowning myself, continuing to drown myself. And still she was telling me, "Stay." I couldn't believe it. And my mind was going a million miles a minute. But I trusted her because she was an amazing instructor, had been so far. So I did, and she said, "Stay with me, and we will both go up together." That's what she signed to me underwater. And what she was doing, I didn't know it at the time, what she was doing was that in order to prevent myself from fully drowning and from passing out, she was calming me and calming my body so that I could make it to the surface without passing out. So to stay coherent enough. But by panicking, then I would continue to kind of hyperventilate, take in too much water, and pass out and possibly die. So instead, she told me to stop. And with that, I was able to keep my mouth shut. I was able to hold the water in, some of the water that was left in there. And I had no air left, but I held that in and didn't take in more. And it was painful. I had to continually kind of like heave, but I stayed with her and we just locked eyes and we slowly went up together, keeping in control, got to the surface, and I threw up all the remaining water in there and sucked in as much air as I possibly could. And I was still, I was alive and I hadn't passed out. She didn't have to do any reviving of me or anything like that. And I was, I was very scared. And what do you think she said to me after I fully cleared my lungs? I was waiting for her to say, "You're done," right? "You failed," or probably not something like that, but probably something like, "You're done. I don't want to risk anything more with you. Let's go back to shore. You can wait out the rest of it," something like that. No, she said, "Okay, catch your breath, and I'll be back and we'll head back down." And sure enough, that's what we did. Yeah, I caught my breath. There was no time for any kind of feeling sorry for yourself, feeling sorry for myself. And we continued back on and went again. So, and I was eventually successful. But it was very much a lesson in the power, for me, in the power of the mind, the power of your brain, of how it can control your body's functions and how it can be dangerous in some ways, in that it was actually overriding the right thing to do. And only because I had such a good instructor walking me through the process was I able to resist the panic and live to talk about it, really. So, bit of a scarier one. I hope you were never in that kind of scenario. Lots of lessons I learned from that, and some amazing, amazing things to see in Indonesia. And my wife and I would go on to scuba dive and snorkel and things like that and see incredible, incredible animals there. So hope you enjoyed this one. We'll see you next time.